Okay, I thought I'd do a quick video. Change of tune. We're going to talk about healthy eating, healthy diets. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to talk about Savannah Marshall against Claressa Shields. And I know I've done a couple of videos already, but I just watched a video and it was interesting because the interviewer was actually, for once, asking some interesting questions. Usually it's just the same old rubbish. But this interviewer asked some interesting questions. Claressa Shields is just before the Savannah Marshall fight, so obviously we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know that, whatever her name was, Femere, whatever that girl's name was, we don't know. She's going to be knocked out at the end of the third round with a humongous left hook from my girl, Sav. The interview is interesting because the interviewer said, why are you over here, first of all? And Claressa Shields said, it's nothing to do with watching Savannah Marshall, I never ever watch my opponents. Don't give a damn about them. I'm the quote. I just do what I do. Never study my opponents. Now, maybe she was bluffing here. Perhaps she does study her opponents. I'm not so sure, though. She doesn't seem smart enough to be able to, do the Tyson Fury kind of bluffing thing. I think she may have been actually being honest that she doesn't. She's, I get in the ring, I do my thing, kind of thing. If you don't study your opponents, if you're not cerebral enough and tactical enough to be able to change, then what's going to happen during the fight? Let's say she's getting pieced up on the outside. She needs to learn how to get inside. Has she ever practiced, ducking, diving, bobbing, weaving? Does she know how to handle a larger opponent in the clinch? I don't know, because most of the people she's beaten, it's gone on point, and she's won with athleticism because she's got very fast hands, got very fast feet as well. So that was a little worrying if you're a Shields fan, that she doesn't appear to give a damn about her opponents or any of their abilities. I mean, who are the best fighters in history? It's always been the ones that can adapt. So in the modern days, obviously someone like Tyson Fury, who can do a fight like against Klitschko, where he's on the back foot and just touching him up with a jab and switch hitting, and then fights Deontay Wilder, tries to do the same, doesn't work. Then next time, just leans all over him, gets in close and absolutely annihilates him. He might come out southpaw, he might come out orthodox. You need to have variety in your game. And, unluckily for Shields, Savannah's, she is a switch hitter. I presume she's practices with Peter Fury, because I'm not aware as an amateur she was ever a switch hitter. But certainly she carries power in both hands. We know that. That left hook, it wasn't quite a Dillian White left hook, but it was good. And the head movement she was showing, I know that Chris Andre said, well, she's big, a bit more cumbersome, she winds up her shots, and maybe she does a bit, but as well, she's moving her upper body, she's very supple. She's not the athlete that Shields is, but you can tactically learn, you can tactically improve. And if Claressa Shields isn't interested in studying that, then she's going to have a major problem on her hands. Because you can believe me that Savannah Marshall, with Peter Fury in the corner, is going to have a plan which will beat Shields. And if things aren't working at first, then they'll switch it up and they'll change. And the difference is that, Savannah Marshall, when she was like 17, 18, I don't think she qualified for the Olympics, did she? Or did she get kicked out in the first round or something? She didn't obviously get gold medals like Shields did. She was on the verge of quitting boxing, and she spoke to Adam Smith, the Sky News head of boxing. And she said, I'm going to give up boxing, fed up with it. I'm going to become a teacher. So this is not a stupid person. She's a smart person. And yeah, I'm no doubt she'd have been an excellent teacher if that's her profession. She may still go on to do that when she quits boxing. She's 30 odd now, so, still time. I still think that when I've done my PhD, maybe I'll be a teacher. I'd quite enjoy it, to be honest, 'cause I do a lot of tutoring, but I'm not officially a teacher. And I enjoy teaching people. So, yeah, but enough about me. The other thing that was asked, so she was asked why she come over here, and Shields' answer was, I'm over here to hype up the fight, the big summer fight. I want people to buy it. I deserve to get paid the same as the men. She doesn't understand that you get paid based on the revenue that comes in from the fight. And if, 600,000 people buy a pay-per-view at £25, multiply it up, take half off this guy, divide the remains between the other people. I imagine Shields will get more money, probably because she has more belts. But whatever. Obviously, I guess she never learned any math, as she would call it. She doesn't understand that it's not, a journeyman male that attracts a nobody. He has to go out and sell his own tickets to make a few quid, and he's losing money probably. If you're Anthony Joshua and all the women as well as the men buy the pay-per-views, then you make tons of money. So it's not about how many belts you hold, it's about how popular you are. And that's gone over her head. And just while we're on it, every other sentence she says she's the GOAT. Even my daughter, I was watching this as a Claressa crap because she does like women's boxing. She won't watch the men, but she'll watch the girls. And she's a big Savannah Marshall fan, as I am. And she really enjoyed that beautiful KO over Femke or Femme or whatever her name is, the Belgian girl. Who actually was no pushover. I believe she went the full. I think the girls do 10 rounds, 10 too many rounds, don't they, the girls? And she went all the distance with Shields. Shields has, I think, 2 knockouts on her record. Savannah, I think, has something like an 80% KO record. So, but anyway, she was asked about why'd you come over, and Shields said, "Well, hyping up the fight. I'm the GOAT. I'm the GOAT. I'm the GOAT." She keeps on calling herself this rubbish. I'm the GOAT. What I don't expect Shields can read, but if she can, she should maybe read a bit of history and find about, okay, she's talking about boxing. Fair enough. There's not really been that many great, female boxers, because for a long time it's been banned, hasn't it? Even any boxing was banned in Sweden, wasn't it? Until very recently. Never quite understood how Bardu Jack was able to become a champion when, as he was growing up, even male boxing there was banned. But anyway, read about these Nazi. Read about the girls who were parachuted into, the ones who worked for the Special Operations Executive of the SOE, parachuted into France because they could speak perfect French without an accent, and the jobs they were doing. And if they were caught, believe me, they were tortured in ways that I'm clearly not going to describe, but they were tortured in horrible ways if they were caught. To me, those are the greatest women of all time. Or girls who worked for the French Resistance, for example. The French Resistance was, there wasn't one. There were lots of individual people with different allegiances and stuff, but there are plenty of girls who saw it as their job to go into bars, fraternise with German officers, ideally, sneak them upstairs thinking they're going to have a bit of fun, and then they kill them, and then they incinerate their bodies in, the hotel incinerator and stuff. There are amazing accounts of that. I wish I could remember the name. I think I did a video on it, one of my War Stories videos. There was one British operative who was parachuted into France for the SOE, did a great job, but unfortunately someone ratted her out eventually. She managed to kill 3 Nazis with a Sten gun. And then, as Sten guns always do, the thing jams because they weren't very good. They were made in a toy factory, actually, just from kind of pressed steel. Biggest toy factory in the world, actually, at the time, somewhere in London. And but anyway, yeah. So Sten guns, nice little machine gun, submachine gun, but it wasn't, a Schnauzer, Schmeiser, Schmeiser's what I'm looking for. Yeah, not as good as the German ones. And they did have a tendency to jam. So, but she managed to kill 3 Germans when she made her stand, and I believe. Was she taken alive, or did she commit suicide? I can't remember. It's people like this, the greatest women of all time. Or also check out the Eastern Front. We know on the Eastern Front, Stalingrad, Vasily Zaitsev was the most famous Russian soldier there because he was a wonderful sniper from Siberia. And he was a dead shot, and he had killed something like 350 Germans with his sniping. And he survived the war, and you can see interviews with him while he was still alive, and it's fascinating. As to how truthful it was, I think it got somewhat exaggerated. And obviously, if you watch Enemy at the Gates, well, yeah, just don't, because you will completely mystify. Historical accuracy was bottom of the list when they made that film. But, you know, at least he had Jude Law in it or something, right? Who can't act either. But there was a Finnish sniper as well, who they reckon is the highest one in history. Again, the names, they escape me. It's obviously a Finnish name, and they have some unusual letters that we don't use. It's not a fully sort of English alphabet like we have. He got, I think, 550 kills. But a lot of the best snipers on the Russian front were women. And there was one, she did a tour of America, actually, to try and hype up support for the Russians, to get more aid and so on. And sadly, she lost an arm. She's a really beautiful woman, but she'd lost an arm because eventually she got shot. And, it must have mangled her arm so much, either it, just was shot off, or it was so badly injured it had to be amputated. But she'd racked up something like 350 kills. And she did a tour of America. And you can see videos of her speaking. These are women that have the right, obviously they're no longer alive now, but they have the right to wear a t-shirt that says "quote" on it. When you're a boxer that has knocked out a load of journeywomen, or not even knocked out, gone the distance with them, like the Rankin girl, who's, boxing her secondary career. She's actually a wonderfully talented musician. I think, is she a cellist? Or is she a bassoonist? I can't remember. But she's like in, the Edinburgh Philharmonic Orchestra or something. She's talented. Savannah Marshall knocks this woman out. Shields goes the distance. Shields has 2 KOs. Savannah Marshall's KO record is something like 80. Well, it was 80%. I imagine it's now obviously gone up because that was her 13th fight, I believe. So last one was the 12th. I can't really do the maths, but, she has a massive KO record. And in women's boxing, let's be honest, KOs are not that common. Because, despite today's world where it seems gender doesn't exist anymore, because obviously no one studies biology, and if you do, you get sacked, But, women don't have the same fast twitch fibres that men do. They don't have the same muscle bulk. And so KOs are, fairly rare. And that was a beautiful KO by Marshall, Chris Andre, a guy that I'm friends with, and I admire him very much, does far better videos than I do. But he was saying that Savannah Marshall, in that fight, she's winding up her shots, she was pulling back, she was telegraphing them almost. He didn't use that word, but I got the impression that she needs a bit of a wind up for her shots, and maybe she does. But notice as well, think of the Tyson Fury of old, back in the Peter Fury days, how he would swing like a pendulum from side to side, not just the head, the whole body, everything moving all the time. Now, Marshall she's tall, she's 6'1", got a long body, but she's very supple and she's very, very good at movement. And so I don't think it's going to be that easy to catch her. She's certainly not on the head. As for the body, I've never seen her looking remotely hurt from body shot before. Well, never seen her at all, actually. But I do not see if she goes in, moving her body around like that, I don't see her getting hurt with a head or a body shot, really. Claressa doesn't have the power. Her only chance, actually, is a win on the cards. But going back to the interview, so they said, why are you here? And she said, I'm here to hype up the fight, Are you here to watch your opponent? No, don't ever watch my opponents. They said to her, so do you see it as a boxer against a puncher? Which to me is a silly question, because Savannah Marshall is clearly a boxer. Very talented amateur, very talented pro. She is not just a puncher. She's a talented boxer that hits hard. But anyway, the self-proclaimed Quote says, no, I wish I could affect a silly American accent, but I can't kind of get one at the moment, so I won't. Claressa Shields said, no, I'm a puncher boxer. Well, that's news to me. I never knew that she could punch, but apparently she can. according to her. So she sees herself as going into this fight and just, I don't know, using fast hands, fast feet, and allegedly hard punches and overwhelming Savannah Marshall. Now, I could see in the early rounds that could happen. Athleticism is a big thing in boxing. I mean, look at Nassim Hamed, extremely unorthodox in the way he fought, but look at his KOs, Look at the fights where he went down, the opponent went down, they all get up, but in the end, his power told. And as soon as he tried to box in his final fight, I've forgotten the dude's name now. Marquez, Vacquez, sorry, I'm supposed to be ignorant here about boxing. But in the last fight where he was with Emmanuel Stewart as one of his trainers, when he suddenly tried to, establish a jab and then use the backhand, didn't really work for him. His skill was the unorthodoxness, the unpredictability. I believe it's it was a style actually that YouTuber he called it the crab, which has to be mentioned given the name of the channel. What's his name? The big nose in reverse. That dude. Anyway, the YouTuber that got beaten by Jake Paul. Anyway, yeah. Trying this unpredictability, kind of crouching and springing and jumping and leaping, and Nassim Hamed was an elite athlete, as to why I would say, and maybe so is Claressa, and that's always going to give you a chance, right? But if you don't study boxing, if you don't study your opponent, if you don't plan tactics, then I just don't see how you're going to win. It will get you past journeyman, but is it really going to get you past a top, skillful, powerful, still athletic woman like Savannah Marshall? I don't really see it. Look at Floyd Mayweather. So in his younger days, as he's going up through the weights, he was an elite athlete, and that was getting him through things. But the whole time, that dude, even though when you talk to him, you think, this is not the sharpest tool in the shed, he clearly was learning tactics. He was learning all those shoulder rolls and all, I can't talk about it. I'm not a boxing technical specialist, but he was learning to defend. And so even when he got into his 30s and his athleticism diminished and he got up through the weights and so he wasn't as tall necessarily as his opponents, he still had the tactics to fall back on. Unfortunately, Claressa Shields does not appear to have any interest whatsoever in learning tactics. I honestly think, and I didn't wish to be rude, but I think she may be too arrogant to actually listen to a coach. I mean, certainly, if you beef with her on Twitter, as I've had the misfortune to, she's not someone that's going to read what you say, take it in, and then give you an articulate answer. She's going to come back with abuse. Probably irrelevant to what your comment was. Savannah Marshall, you can just imagine there, listening to Peter Fiore. Everything he says, she's lapping it up, she's listening. And she knows she's got the best trainer on the planet, because that's what I believe Peter Fiore is. Obviously, it's horses for courses, but in her case, I think it's the best, because he's obviously taught her to switch hit, taught her to get in close and clinch, he's taught her close-up power. I mean, look at that KO with the left hook. He's taught her long-range, well, she's put out that already, but long-range power, which is a lot easier to deliver when you've got long levers. And the balance, did you see her go off balance once? I didn't, yes, she's winding up the big swings for the big power punches, but, it's not like she swings them and then wobbles across the plate, like a Bambi on ice, like Deontay Wilder or something. No, she's balanced, she's poised. Interestingly, I was listening as well, I know I'm digressing from what I was originally talking about, but Savannah Marshall, when she was 17, I don't believe she either didn't qualify for the Olympics or she failed early. She's not a double gold medalist or anything like that, as Shields is. But Savannah Marshall there, she was being interviewed by Adam Smith, the head of Sky Sports Boxing. And Adam Smith, was asking about what her plans are, because obviously they wanted to recruit her. And she said, I'm giving up boxing. And do you know what profession she was going to go into? She was going to be a teacher. She said, I've given up boxing, I'm going to uni, I'm going to be a teacher. Now, thankfully for all of us who like watching her, she's put that on hold. But, maybe when she retires, maybe she might well do that. I can say from personal experience, it's very enjoyable teaching. If you have students who want to learn, it's great. I mean, I'm not a qualified teacher, but obviously I do have a master's, and I do. I'm on the cusp of getting a PhD, and I do tutoring every week. I've done tutoring for about the last 8 years, and it's really, really enjoyable teaching children of any age if they're willing to learn. Now, obviously, it depends on the school you go to. You might find you have a class of kids that have no interest in learning, such as my school when I went to school, unfortunately. It was me against the world, because I actually wanted to learn. No one else did. Best thing about me being at school was getting to play football every break and lunchtime. But, so I can understand the appeal of that. But if you ask Claressa Shields, no one asked her this, they wouldn't be brave enough, obviously. You might get scratched by her long fake fingernails or something, but... if they actually asked her, so Claressa, if you lose this fight and you retire from boxing, what profession would you take up? I don't know if she'd have an answer, but, maybe she'd speak to her brother, and once he's out of jail, he can help her start up, slinging crack on the corners or something. And I'm not saying that, it's nothing to do with race or anything like that, it's just, she strikes me as just being a very unpleasant, just a really horrible, inarticulate, unpleasant person. And, yes, she's come from a rough background in Flint, Michigan. Watch videos on that serial killer dude in Flint, Michigan, who used to go and... He was an Israeli dude, and he'd randomly walk up to black people when he found them, and then suddenly whip out a knife and, do his thing. He was a really evil man. Luckily, they got him. He tried to flee back to Israel. So it's a rough upbringing. Obviously, Eminem's from that around that area, Flint, Michigan, Warren, Michigan. I think he moved around a lot. And, but it shows if you have talent, you can rise through it, Look at how articulate that dude is. He was dissed by, what's his face? The dude with, in the kill shot reply, what is his name? Well, his real name's Coulson, isn't it? I've forgotten his name now. But the dude that beefed with Eminem to try and get his rep up, he was accused of did you eat a dictionary or something? Kelly, Machine Gun Kelly. So it doesn't really matter where you're from if you have the intelligence and I went to a rubbishy school. Yeah, I still came out top of my year. Still doing a PhD, So Claressa Shields, it's nothing to do with where she's from, anything to do with race, anything like that. It's just she's a really unpleasant person. If you don't believe me, tweet her. Say to her, are you afraid of fighting Savannah Marshall? You're not going to get a polite reply. You're going to get a ton of vitriol. She's just a really unpleasant person. But anyway, an arrogant person. If you call yourself the greatest woman of all time, then clearly you've not met many great women and you've not learned about them, because I've just given you several examples of wonderful, women who are brave, risk their lives. Some of them suffer the most terrible deaths for what they did, fighting against tyranny and stuff. Like these women over in Ukraine at the moment, I mentioned another video, but, the ones that have been going on Tinder, they've been finding Russian officers who, it seems their main aim, because their war is bogged down, they're a bit bored, they're not got anything to do. They're going on Tinder trying to meet up with Ukrainian women. And so Ukrainian women have been getting their geolocation and saying, yeah, I'll come meet you. And then they're met with an artillery strike instead. Yeah. And, I shouldn't laugh, but it just annoys me when, I stay politically neutral, but, if my house was getting, smashed up by Russian artillery and they're Russian officers looting my local shop, I'm friends with a local shopkeeper, he's a good mate of mine. If I saw a load of Russians going in there and just nicking everything, that would annoy me. And if they got artillery struck, I wouldn't be too unhappy about it. Put it that way. So what else did Claressa Shields say in this interview? Over there, come over, hype it up, make the fight big. She said women's boxing is booming in the UK, so this is where the money is, and that's all true. But not interested at all about tactics and learning and so on and trying to improve herself. She thinks that her athleticism and her arrogance will get her through. Will it? I really don't think so. I think what's going to happen, and we really hope and pray it does happen. Well, actually, I shouldn't say pray because, I'm not sure God approves of boxing. But we hope that come summer we do see this great fight. It's one I'll pay pay-per-view for, £25-30 an hour. An hour? A view. An hour. That's a local pharmacist wage. So I'm hoping come the summer, when this happens, need a good undercard. Shields wants it in London. She seems she's a bit shook by the Northeast. I think the fans are a bit too rowdy for her. She was getting roundly booed. That's a silly idea. You want it in the Northeast where all the fans are going to come and watch. But frankly, wherever it is, I don't really care. I'm going to watch it on telly with the best view, and I'll pay pay-per-view money for it. When it happens, I'll put my prediction here now. In this fight, Savannah Marshall knew she was going to win. She knew she was much better than this Femele, whatever her name was, the Belgian. And she was a bit reckless. She was going in, swinging the punches, getting in close. She took a lot of punches on the arms, on the face, but she really went in there without any fear. Against Shield, she's going to have to show some more respect. She's taller, she's 6'1", she's longer, and I bet she's stronger, but I don't think she's as fast. So what she's going to do is keep turning, keep moving, swapping the angles, start off maybe orthodox, but then switch it up after a few rounds, just when Claressa's getting used to getting the left-hand jab and the right power hand, switch it up, hit it with the right jab, hit it with the left power hand. She has those skills. And just to round off, I apologise, I know this video's gone way too long, but yeah, I'm waffling because I'm waiting for my curry sauce to cool down. I play a lot of Roblox with my daughter, Claressa the Crab, and there's a game on there called Royal High, and there's an archery game. So you will go into there, and it's like, 5-on-5 or 4-on-4, depending on whatever, or 5v4, depending on the numbers. 9 out of 10 rounds, I come out with all the awards, as in, best archer, first hit, lone survivor, maybe, whatever. 9 out of 10, I top the round. And how do I do that? Is it because I'm better at computer games than everybody else? No. I'm playing probably against a lot of people younger than me that are playing computer games all the time the moment they finish school. The way I win is via tactics. So I see the enemy at a distance, I spot them very, very early, I arrow them from a long distance away. If I get lucky, I get the first hit, but if I don't, doesn't matter. Sneak around the back, sneak around the side, wait for them to all be moving forward in a line towards the main body of your team, and then you just enfilade them from the side, and you can't miss, really. At the moment you arrow one, suddenly they realise one of their teammates has been hit, and you can save in this game. You get these little blue hearts sort of bubble off you, and it says, ouchie, yeah? And what can happen, you can jump up, if it's your teammate, you can jump up, click on them, and then they're saved, they're unouched, or you're still credited with the shot. So this is how, my best is 22 girls in, one round, even though it's against a team of 4 or 5, because you ouch them again. And what you do, the moment you've ouched someone, you predict what your opponent's going to do. And you see, one of them doesn't give a damn and they just carry on, going where they're going, or one of them rushes off to hide or something. But there's always one that's a saver, which I always do. The main way I ever get shot is by saving my own teammates, because you want to save your teammates. But anyway, so then you loiter at a safe distance, zigzagging, and you just pump arrows into it. And quite a few games, they can be over very quickly, because you just literally arrow the whole team, because they've all run in to save. They're not jumping and flying and zigzagging. They're all rushing in to try and click on their teammate to save them. And you just arrow them from a safe distance. Why am I saying all of this in a boxing video? The reason is that tactics matter. So you can have somebody like myself, who is not an avid computer gamer, just someone who does it on, weekends with my daughter, and yet I can top the server every time purely by just being smart and just, knowing what your opponent's going to do before they do it, and then predicting them. And if you get one that's particularly good, and they're jumping around, they're zigzagging, they're sending a very accurate fire, then you have to change your tactics. And I go over to fighter tactics. I'm a big World War I buff. So what I'll do is I'll try and hide in the trees, come up them, come in behind, and so they can't shoot backwards, they're shooting forwards, and you literally get on their tail, and and you shoot them in the back. So the point of all of that waffle is that you need tactics, and the same in boxing. And if Claressa Shields is true to what she said in that interview, she will not be listening to a coach. She won't be listening to a trainer. She won't be, having these things pointed out. Look, Claressa, she moves over sideways. She bends her head sideways, bends her body sideways. Then she's coming back with the left hook, and that's when you put up one hand to block it, and you hit her with your other hand, in the side or whatever, or clip her on the chin. She's not going to be listening to the nuances of it. And the difference is that Savannah Marshall, you can bet your life, between now and the summer, whenever this fight's going to happen, she will be watching videos of Claressa Shields, and Peter Fiore will be talking about the minutiae of how to beat her. And my guess, but I'm not a boxing trainer, my guess, it will be primarily long range, established jab, long range. When Claressa uses her fast footwork and her fast hands to get in close, just grab her and tie her up. Hopefully the referee doesn't get involved too much and allows that. I think if they get on the inside, Savannah will use her greater strength. I believe she will be a tad stronger. She's only taller than Shields. She'll be able to weigh on her and drain her. So it could be the first few rounds, could be nip and tuck. Come the end, I think Savannah will have inflicted enough damage, especially to Shields' body, that she's breaking down. And it could end with a KO, or it could end with a points victory. Adam Smith was saying, well, we could have a trilogy of this, we could have 3 of them. And, well, we'll see. It depends how decisive it is, but I'm confident of a Savannah Marshall victory, and that's not just because I don't like Claressa Shields. I've been quite open that I don't. And it's nothing to do with where she's from or race or anything dumb like that. It's purely that she's just really rude and arrogant and unpleasant, and I don't like her. And it annoys me, and all these interviewers pander to her, and they're all, calling her the quote, and they're all, saying, like Adam Smith is like, oh, she's a lovely, bubbly personality, so infectious, so delightful. It's a shame when you have to sacrifice your soul for your work. Because that's basically what's happening there. No, she's rude and horrible. Call her out. But I understand he's got a job to do. But anyway, yeah, so that is my in-depth analysis. So my prediction is, look, I'm almost certain of a Savannah Marshall win. Probably on points, most likely. I think Claressa will be elusive and quick. It'll be hard to catch her. But I think it will be a fairly clear Marshall victory. Maybe 10 or 20% chance of the KO. Do I give Claressa a chance? Obviously, she has got a puncher's chance, but in women's boxing, one punch very seldom does it. So I don't see that happening. Anyway, we'll continue to watch and await, and we'll look at it with interest. And I'm going to eat this delicious curry sauce and battered sausage. Thanks for listening.